Hi, I'm Bob Kendrick, and this is Storied, 22 stories in 22 weeks about the history of the Negro Leagues. Well, anytime that I talk or mention or think about my friend, the late, great Buck O'Neil, it makes me smile because that's exactly what Buck O'Neil did. Most of us who fell in love with Buck O'Neil, we never saw him play. We fell in love with the Buck O'Neil who told us about the heroes of the Negro Leagues. We fell in love with the Buck O'Neil who so beautifully and vividly demonstrated to all of us that you can indeed get further in this life with love than you can with hate. But Buck O'Neil had been a great baseball player in the Negro Leagues. He came to the Negro Leagues in 1937 as a member of the Memphis Red Sox, and in a brilliant move orchestrated by J.O. Wilkinson, who staged a trade of Buck after the 37 season to come to Kansas City to join his Kansas City Monarchs, where Buck had a long-standing affiliation with Kansas City and the Kansas City Monarchs from 1938 through 1955. He'd been a multiple-time All-Star, a great defensive first baseman. He won a batting title, lifetime 288 hitter, but a stellar defensive first baseman. Buck O'Neil would then leave the Kansas City Monarchs after the 1955 season to become a scout for the Chicago Cubs. And as a scout for the Cubs, he signed Hall of Famers Ernie Banks, Hall of Famers Lou Brock, recent Hall of Famer Lee Arthur Smith, hopefully future Hall of Famer Joe Carter. He had a great eye for talent. And then Buck would go on to break barriers himself by becoming the Major's first African-American coach in 1962 with the Chicago Cubs. And then he would go on to become the voice of the Negro Leagues. His compelling narration in Ken Burns' epic documentary on the history of baseball captivated America. He was 82 years old at that time, and he literally stole the show. I'll never forget the headline of the Kansas City Star after Buck's premiere in the film says, "A star is born at 82. When most of us are shutting it down, it jettisoned an entirely new career for Buck O'Neil. As a matter of fact, he was likely a bigger star at 82 than he had been in the Negro Leagues, and he had been a big star in the Negro Leagues. He was gallivanting all over the country, preaching the gospel of the Negro Leagues and the virtues of his museum to any and everybody who would listen. And guess who was along for the ride? Old Bob, hanging on his coattail. I guess I was a disciple as he was preaching this gospel, and I'm soaking it all in. And for me, I get to share those stories that he shared with me. He shared them firsthand. And while I didn't live them, I did absorb them to the point that I now try to share them. And when I do so, it keeps him alive in my mind and in my heart. And people ask me all the time, what do you remember most about Buck? Well, there are so many great stories that he shared. But the thing that strikes me the most about Buck was that you always felt better leaving Buck O'Neil than you did when you came to see him. And there's not too many people that touches you in that way. He was energized by people, he loved people, and people loved him back. And what did he say about Kansas City? He says, "I knew I was coming to the heart of America. I never knew I was coming to the center of the universe." And 18th and Vine, where he built his museum, was indeed the center of the universe. It was a cultural crossroads where jazz and baseball intersected. And as Buck would say, if you had a relative who you had not seen in a while and you came to Kansas City to visit them, all you had to do was stand on the corner of 18th and Vine on a Saturday night. They got to walk by there. This has been Bob Kendrick for Storied. 22 amazing stories of the Negro Leagues in 22 amazing weeks. Stay tuned for the next episode next week.